right, welcome back, friends. So today we're going to drive from Vancouver International Airport, Vancouver International Airport YVR, to downtown Vancouver. Let's see how we get there, see how the traffic is, and I'll give you kind of the overall go-to. Now, we are on the departures level, so one level above arrivals. And first off, welcome to Vancouver. We're just driving past the Fairmont Vancouver Airport, which is the first place you'll pass on the way in when you're departing. It's in the US terminal. We serve, let's see, Air Canada, Delta, WestJet, Alaska, United, and I think Air Transat as well. Oh, did I say American? Yeah, I'm sure I did. Alrighty, so that's US departures. Then we now are entering international. International terminal has its own separate area, whereas in the US you pre-clear US customs if you're flying before 8 p.m. International, there's just so many to cover. Flies everywhere in the world except Africa. So British Airways, Air Canada, WestJet again, obviously, Air France, Lufthansa for Europe. And then lots and lots and lots in China, as well as JAL and ANA for Japan. Qantas seasonally to and from Sydney. Air Canada goes to Melbourne, as well as Brisbane and Sydney. And Air New Zealand. Those are the ones that come off the top of my head. There might be more. Well, there's a few others, like Edelweiss goes to Switzerland, that kind of thing. So this is domestic terminal, domestic departures, so primarily Air Canada and WestJet. And then there's like Air North, which goes up to the Yukon. There's a few smaller carriers like Flair, which is interesting to say the least. And Air Transat again. Air Transat works out of all three terminals depending on where they're going, and they are a primary charter service. But that being said, they've got regularly scheduled routes to like Gatwick, Manchester, a couple other places I'm sure in Europe. And then of course they do the sun destinations and whatnot in the winter. So down into the Caribbean and Mexico. Let's see, so now we are in, well, we're exiting the airport essentially, the terminal. They're doing a lot of work here, parking structure, which should be up by 2021. It's supposed to hold thousands and thousands of cars. Vancouver International is going through a $9 billion expansion. I mean, that's over the course of 20 years, but it's huge. So yeah, we're gonna head out, go past the gas station, which is a Petrocan. Let's see, we're gonna come up, you might see it in a little bit on the left-hand side, after we get past these trees and whatnot, which is the SkyTrain that goes all the way to Downtown Vancouver Waterfront Station. So if you're by yourself, you don't feel like driving, I think it's like $8 with the airport fee that they charge, and it takes 25 minutes to get to Waterfront Station, which is that's about as close to the cruise ships as you're gonna get. Now, so on the right-hand side, we're actually between basically the two main runways, and this is, I'm trying to remember. I think this is Grant McConaughey Way. Alrighty, it is a gorgeous November day. It's just about midday, November 6th? Yeah, November 6th. So I thought this would be a good example of how to get to the city and just kind of what average traffic is. Obviously, things get a bit more interesting if it's like gray and rainy and a downpour. But this way you get to see some of the beauty of the city as well. So I think, what are we looking at? The airport is doing somewhere around 26 million passengers a year. So it's really expanded over the last decade, when it was doing about 17, 18 million, if I do recall. It's the third largest, or second largest, second busiest airport in Canada, behind Toronto Pearson. And it looks like it's just really coming into its own. I did work here in the airport. I'm not going to say, well, I'm not going to say where I worked, but it was pretty prominent, pretty nice. And it was really wild to see just the different people and personalities and reasons for traveling through Vancouver, or to Vancouver as well. So I'm just merging off to the left. We're going to take Granville Street this time. Kind of gets you right into the heart of the city. Not a route that I would usually take. Route, call it what you will, depending on your nationality. Because I live in East Vancouver, so there's another way to get there. Well, there's several ways. But I'm going to take you into the city, because this is most likely, if you're visiting Vancouver, especially for tourism reasons, this is the way you want to. This is the way you want to go. A couple of different ways, but this one is kind of the least fuss and must to get you straight there. So we're waiting here at Templeton Street, and here is the long-term parking, the economy lot. There is a free SkyTrain to the terminals, so you can park here for, I don't know, I've parked here for a couple of weeks at a time, and you can just jump on the train, gets you right to the terminals, and it takes about a 1.5 minute walk to get inside. Now all you have to do is you go Sea Island only, because we're on Sea Island right now. You get that pass, you tap on, tap off. It's kind of like the Tube in London and all that good stuff. And it's fully automated train as well, and there's no drivers. All right, big old plane coming in. Looks like a 777. My guess it might be Air France. Nope, that is Air New Zealand on their new 787. They're flying on this route. That's only been going on for a week or two. I love Air New Zealand. Great service, great experience when I've flown with them. All right, on the left as well, another reason that people are coming to Sea Island is there's an outlet mall called MacArthur Glen. And they've just expanded it so you can shop until you drop. It's got a bunch of designer names, brand names. Not exactly the greatest cultural experience. It's an outlet mall. It's capitalism at capitalism and consumerism's best, or worst, call it what you will. But you want to shop? That's your place. So we're now on Arthur Lang Bridge as we leave Sea Island. So the way we're going to go, we're going to Granville Street. We want to get into the right-hand lane. So we are entering one of the forks of the mighty Fraser River. Now it's really cool on certain days when you're going over the bridge. The planes approach over here if they're landing on, plane is 26 right, what the runway's called. And it feels super low, like especially if it's a 747 or the A380 from British Airways in the summer come through, you feel like that thing's going to land on you. It's really, really wild and it's fun to see. Alrighty, so we have branched off. That's why the right lane was important for Granville Street. Single lane. So this is going to merge up with Southwest Marine Drive. And you just want to be in pretty much the right lane for kind of ease of less of fuss and muss. If you like darting, starting, stopping, and blazing through traffic for people who are turning left, then yeah, get in the left-hand lane. You're not really going to get into the city much faster, so if you're looking for lowest stress, just get in the middle lane and ride it out. Do not get in the right lane. The reason why I say this is the first few, the first quarter mile, half mile or so, yeah, it's nice, flowy, but that's also where the buses stop. And then all of a sudden, parking begins. So there's a kind of a gnarly merge point, pinch point, and just to save yourself stress, just get in the middle of the lane, like I said, ride that bad boy out. This Shell station right here is the first hydrogen station in Canada for hydrogen fuel cell vehicles. How do I know? Well, I spoke to the guy who actually put it in, and he was one of those executives from Shell. It was pretty cool. Going green, zero emissions, all for it. But it's going to take some while to, it's going to take a while to get that infrastructure in place. So we are in South Vancouver on South Granville. It's just Granville Street, but everyone calls it South Granville. So right around West 70th. That's the avenues go perpendicular to the streets, in theory. There's a couple of wonky things in the city, but if you're driving, most likely you're not going to encounter them if you're just going to and from the airport. Yeah, so South Granville is really starting to emerge as another great destination. It's also known as Marpole, right between here and, in particular, Oak Street. And it's known for that reason because Marpole, I believe, was one of the founders of the city. Granville, oddly enough, may as well play the random trivia game. Granville was the original English name of Vancouver. That changed, obviously, a bit afterwards because it was the city was named for George Vancouver, one of the early European explorers to arrive here. Huge Spanish influence as well. The Strait of Juan de Fuca, which is what separates Vancouver Island from Washington State. Obviously known for Juan de Fuca the explorer. So if you go to Victoria, for instance, just completely sidebar here, there's a lot of neighborhoods and a lot of streets that actually have Spanish names as well as the Coast Salish names, different towns and whatnot. So it's a nice testament to the explorers. We could call it gentrification of the area, but also the towns themselves that hold Salish names. It's nice to know that we actually do honor and respect that. Anyhow, enough on the social political stuff. Heading to the city. This is pretty much a straight shot now, the whole way. But I thought you just want to see this. Yeah, South Vancouver in particular. They do a great festival of lights, Diwali, as well as there is the. I don't want to get this wrong, but I believe it's Indo-Canadians. So Indian Canadian folks, there's a big population here. And they really embrace and celebrate that. There's also a huge Chinese population as we have in this area. If you are seeing any of the signs, you'll see a lot in Mandarin or Cantonese. So this is a very diverse city, really cool, great food scene. And it's a beautiful city. So we're getting closer to Shaughnessy. Obviously, it even comes across just the name as kind of bougie. Let's call it what you will. Beautiful mansions, a lot of opulent homes as well. One of the older neighborhoods in the city, but definitely not the oldest. Alrighty, traffic. Like I said, this isn't even a crazy day whatsoever. This is garden variety, almost easy and flowy at this time of day. So this is 57th Avenue. You're gonna see more residential stuff here, less commercial and retail for the next 40 blocks or so. My phone is acting on its own accord right now. There we go. Did my one-touch turn off. Nice and safe. Kind of like a church and worship row through here. There are Anglican, Baptist, Lutheran, United churches all through here. A couple blocks over on Oak Street, you see a bunch of synagogues. It's nice and diverse, super pleasant area. Now there's some main cross streets as well that you come through. In particular, Up ahead, we're going to see 41st in a minute or two. Probably get stopped at the traffic light. It runs east-west and essentially heads out towards UBC, the University of British Columbia. It's an area called Dunbar as well. Not Dunbar as well, but just known as Dunbar. Heading out to Point Grey. Lots of transit goes through there as well. So if you're using transit while you're in Vancouver, get yourself a Compass card. Small deposit, I think it's $5, and it's tap on, tap off, like I said, with the tube. And there's a daily cap on it as well, which I think is about $15, maybe $16 right about now. And the bus system here is outstanding for rapid and train transit. It's really coming along. It's the last main line to come through was an expansion of the original line, the Expo line, and it was called the Evergreen line. The train line that takes you from Waterfront Station in Vancouver to the airport, as well as Richmond, is known as the Olympic line. And obviously that opened up just prior to the 2010 Olympic Games and has been just an absolutely resounding success. For the most part, it runs along Cambie Street, which is about a 3-minute drive east if you take any of the major thoroughfares. So I've just passed 41st, so now we're definitely in deepest, darkest Shaughnessy. Yeah, not really too much to tell you aside from I cannot afford to buy any of these homes, and probably will never be able to afford to. That being said, hey, maybe I win the lottery or something. So to the right, this is 37th Avenue. It's one of the cycle streets. I'll get into that more. But it's also where you turn right here to go to Van Dusen Gardens, which is 55 acres of botanical gardens. Absolutely gorgeous. Now, cycle lanes. On the major thoroughfares, they don't actually have cycle lanes like they do on some of the city streets or the neighborhood streets. But there's dedicated cycle-friendly streets. That being said, like 37th, which has, if you're crossing major thoroughfares like Granville or Oak, pedestrian/cyclist controlled traffic lights, and makes it nice and easy for them to get around. I love when I'm on my bike to be able to do that, to stay much safer, not impede traffic, and just kind of stop and enjoy the neighborhoods. Alrighty, so you may be able to see the North Shore Mountains straight ahead. If not, you'll definitely see them when we get closer. There's nothing quite like coming from the airport or out at the ferries, which is another 25 minutes southwesty of the airport. When you come into the city, if these mountains are snow-capped on like a fall or spring day, sky's blue and there's freshly capped mountains, oh, it is absolutely spectacular. Even on a day like today, though, the city is gorgeous. Alrighty. As we get closer and closer to the city, we're going to start seeing a bit more of an urban kind of vibe. Definitely not high-rises or anything yet. Oh, another church. Definitely no high-rises and that stuff yet, but you'll start seeing the development in about the next 10 blocks. So next up, this cross street is King Edward Avenue. Kind of one of those major thoroughfares, not crazy wide boulevard or anything, but definitely one of the more common ways to get across the city east to west in this area. And 41st can be kind of insane, especially they've got a major redevelopment going on at Oak Ridge Mall. So again, that's 41st. But 41st definitely has more transit. Yeah, there's some big old hedges through here as well. That's when you know they really want to keep us out. So as we start this eventual little descent as we come over this ridge. Start getting a better view of the North Shore Mountains in about a minute, and start seeing more of the city. Again, we haven't had to turn at a light whatsoever. We've just kind of merged once or twice. Straight shot down Granville. And if the camera is picking it up, we are seeing a lot of the city right now. So this is West 16th Avenue. And this is kind of where the urban structures really began. And down we go. Cab drivers here can be rather aggressive. So this has definitely created more of a funky vibe in the last few years. Got some great restaurants in this area. Nice little theater called the Stanley. It's one of those heritage theaters, which is quite cool. Bit of shopping, Williams-Sonoma, some shoe shops, lots of clothing, all that stuff. And this is the kind of area in the city where it really starts to happen where you don't really need to own a car. If you're working in the city, you can do everything by transit or on foot. Or, I think in a month, probably-ish, rideshare like Lyft and Uber, or taxi. Gotta love some of those older heritage buildings as well. Love the brick buildings. I was talking about? The Stanley. Love that place. Okay. Okay, now we're going to wait at the traffic light for West Broadway. Another major thoroughfare, there's going to be a huge expansion of the SkyTrain line from Cambie Street. The Expo line is going to start heading out towards UBC to the west. There's tens of thousands of students there, so every extra little bit of transit, even though it looks like the train won't be going all the way out to the university, is going to help. Obviously reduces a lot of congestion, but also just makes life easier for a bunch of the students, especially if they don't drive and they're just getting to school by way of transit. You might be able to shave even 20-30 minutes each way off of a commute at times. We're going to go down just a little bit more once we get through the light. They're doing a bunch of work on the Granville Street Bridge. It just needs to be updated, maintained. And definitely a little bit of structural work just to ensure its integrity for the long term. I hope you can see that. I hope you can see the skyline starting to emerge. Buses. thus comes the end of the cross avenues, and now we're just heading into the city. Okay. Merge, merge, merge. So right now we are above, or just about to be above, Granville Island. And Granville Island, if you're visiting for tourism reasons, you're most likely going to end up here. Great shopping. The market, of course, is known widely. There's a few restaurants, there's even a theater. And of course you can take the little tiny aqua buses from one side of Falls Creek to the other. And that's where we're going over right now, will be Falls Creek. So I'm just gonna merge into the right lane. We're gonna buzz along here for a minute. Absolutely gorgeous day. And I love this skyline. The reason why we have so many steel and glass structures here is because it does get gray and it does get rainy. So you know what? People love having natural light in their homes. That's it. Great views and natural light. Alrighty. So let's move across here. We're headed right into the downtown core. Now this place, you know, at this point, you're probably got your GPS on. If you're driving and you're visiting, follow your GPS instructions as to where you're headed. Most likely you're probably headed to your hotel or an event. So that's pretty much it. Just head into the city here, a little touch. Right downtown. And I'm going to stop here. Welcome to Vancouver. There we go. Thank you for watching. Please like, please subscribe, and we'll be back to see you again soon. Cheers.